Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming. I'm here to talk. I'm Christine Howard from Pennsylvania 167 in Chester County. So I'm here today to talk to you about House Bill 1344, which concerns what can be termed hate crimes against the disabled population. So this was brought to my attention earlier this year by Senator Killian, who had introduced Senate Bill 444, which has been around for a while. And he and our district attorney in Chester County were motivated to start this legislation because of an incident, a really appalling incident that happened in Chester County where a developmentally disabled man was targeted by someone. He was mocked outside of a convenience store and he was multiply punched in the head. Immediately prior to that, there was a similar incident in Philadelphia where some young men targeted another developmentally disabled man, again mocking him for his disability and hitting him. And fortunately, in some regard, both of these incidents were videoed, in the first case by security cameras, in the second case by the perpetrators. So what District Attorney Hogan and Senator Killian found is that there's a large gap currently in Pennsylvania's criminal code. These incidents could really only be classified as simple assault, and the penalties were relatively minor for the trauma that this occurred. So as we know, those with intellectual and physical disabilities are not on a hate crime list, but they're amongst the most vulnerable members of our community, and they are offered no additional protection. Attacks against the disabled represent some of the most repugnant imaginable, yet those who perpetrate these attacks really receive a slap on the wrist, basically. So House Bill 1344, which I am happy to introduce in the House, will rectify this tragic oversight. This bill not only has bipartisan support, but bicameral support as well. Senator Killian was not able to be here today, but recently, Representative Struzzi from Indiana County contacted me because he had an almost identical situation occur in his county. So I'll let Representative Struzzi fill us in on that.
Thank you, Representative Howard. Good morning, everyone. I'm truly honored to be here today. It's tragic, the level of cruelty and hatred that exists in our society today. You want to believe that people are good inside, but unfortunately, incidents like Representative Howard mentioned and the unfortunate incident that I'm going to describe that happened in Indiana County sort of show you that we need to protect those most vulnerable citizens, those with intellectual or physical disabilities, from the worst of humanity, really. And the incident that occurred, I'll give you a little background. I'm from Indiana County, 62nd Legislative District. It's a great place to live, quality of life. It really exceeds many other places because we have a significant network of trails. And so the Hoodlebug Trail runs from Indiana down to Homer City and then ultimately down towards Blairsville. It's a great trail, a Rails to Trails project, but it also has some isolated areas. So this young man, his name is Cody Overdorf, was unfortunately lured onto the trail by his accosters. They lured him onto the trail with the sole intention of abusing him. And you can look the video up. It was covered by all the Pittsburgh news channels. It's appalling. And when I saw it, I knew that something had to be done. This poor young man just sat there because he couldn't help himself. He trusted, as I said earlier, he trusted the good nature of humanity, and unfortunately, we don't all have that within us. And it came out in these perpetrators who videotaped themselves doing this, and I was just disgusted by the entire thing, as was most members of our community. But unfortunately, when I spoke with our district attorney, there was little that could be done. Now, these individuals are still awaiting trial, but it is on video, so you can't dispute what's on video. But to me, there needs to be consequences for actions like this. When someone hurts someone who can't help themselves, there needs to be more serious consequences than what we have right now. And unfortunately, there's little that we can do. I mean, they'll be punished, I'm sure, to the full extent of the law, but the full extent of the law, in my opinion, doesn't go far enough right now. That's why I signed on to Representative Howard's bill. I'm honored to do that. As she said, it is bipartisan. I'm a Republican, but this issue doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or Republican. It doesn't matter where you come from. When someone is abused and they can't help themselves due to a disability, we need to fight for them. So that's why I'm standing here today with my colleagues, and I hope that we can do something to change this for young men like Cody and everyone else out there who are victims of cruelty and hate. So thank you.
Thank you, Representative Struzzi. So I'm also happy to be joined today by Sherry Landis, who is the director of the ARC of Pennsylvania, and Jeannie Mykrans from the ARC of Chester County. And Jeannie was very much aware of the incident that happened in Chester County, but Sherry is going to speak to us.
Thank you. Good morning, and thank you, Representative Howard, for inviting the ARC of Pennsylvania here today in order to speak in support of House Bill 1344. The ARC of Pennsylvania is the state's leading advocacy organization representing people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. We represent 33 chapters and over 8,000 individuals across Pennsylvania. For the past 70 years, the ARC of Pennsylvania's mission is to ensure that children and adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities receive the support and services they need, are included in their community, and have control over their own lives. House Bill 1344 would ensure people with intellectual and developmental disabilities would be protected against any hate crime committed against them. In 2017, the FBI's hate crime statistic report showed hate crimes against people with disabilities increased by 65% in just 1 year. However, it is important to know that hate crimes are often underreported due to factors ranging from reporting protocols and victims hesitating to report a crime to the police or not knowing how to do so. When a crime is motivated by a person's physical, intellectual, or psychiatric disability, it is a hate crime. Nicole Jorwick, Director of Rights Policy at the ARC US, recently spoke at a public briefing on hate crimes and bias-related incidents sponsored by the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights. Jorwick was asked, crimes against people with disabilities has been called the invisible hate crime. Why do people not realize it exists? Her answer was simple, and it's the answer that the ARC of Pennsylvania stands behind. Because for decades, people with disabilities were often locked away in institutions or kept out of mainstream society. It created an idea that people with disabilities were less than, which is why hate crimes against people with disabilities are often minimized and called pranks or bullying instead of referring to them as what they are, hate crimes. The ARC of Pennsylvania will continue to work with Representative Howard and Senator Killian and members of the General Assembly to protect the state's most vulnerable population. Thank you.
Well, thank you, everybody, for joining me. No one else has anything else? Thank you very much.